everyone, welcome back. My name's Dustinkreis, and today we are going to do a game discussion over a game that I can't actually show you because I don't have the physical copy of, but it is Shining Force, the Sword of Hajya, however you want to say it, titles up there. This was actually released on the Sega Game Gear, and I don't know about you guys, but the Game Gear is kind of one of those systems that I always... I kind of have fond memories of it because my brother had a Game Gear and I have it now in the closet. But I always remember the games being kind of crappy, like subpar ports of Mortal Kombat and other great games. Actually, the only game on there that I really enjoyed was some kind of All-Stars baseball game, and I made like a custom team with all the best players and I just stomped the rest of the teams. Like World Series Baseball or something. I don't know what it was. I have to look in the case. But I always remember like Game Gear games just not being that good. The Sonic games on the Game Gear were really hard, and like the Mortal Kombat games were just abysmal to play. And I don't know. I don't have fond memories of the Game Gear. And to have a game like this come along and kind of show me that yes, literally every system has at least one good game for it. That might be a bit of a stretch. I'm sure someone will point out a system that had no good games. But this is an amazing turn-based strategy RPG in the vein of Fire Emblem if you've never played a Shining Force game. In fact, if you've never played a Shining Force game but you love the Fire Emblem series, I highly recommend you find these games. This game can be purchased on the Nintendo eShop for like $4 on the 3DS. Highly recommend it. It's a great portable little strategy game. And then you can get the other Shining Force games on the right here on the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, or for you folks in the PAL region, the Ultimate Mega Drive Collection, I think it's called. And yeah, like this is just I kind of had no big hopes for it. It being a Game Gear game and everything, but I was really taken aback at one, how good this was as a strategy RPG. I really loved my time with it. And it's, you know, just as good as any of the Fire Emblem ports for like the DS or the Game Boy Advance. And I was really taken aback at like how full-fledged the story was in this. Sometimes with portable RPGs that aren't ports of big RPGs, especially back in the Game Boy and the Game Gear era, that era, they kind of felt kind of stripped down in terms of the storyline because, you know, working with a Game Boy cart or a Game Gear cart in this case, you know, you feel like you don't have as much room to really put in a decent story for these games. But man, I was actually really kind of taken with the story to this game. Unfortunately, the story to this game is a sequel to another game because there was actually another... Actually, there was like two other Shining Force games for the Game Gear. There was one called Shining Force Gaiden, and then this one is called Shining Force Gaiden 2, and then there was it the Game Gear it was for? I can't remember. But there was another one that was in Japan, because I kind of looked it up, you know, the kind of the history of the Shining series, because I'm kind of new to the Shining series. And just to see like if there are any other, you know, these Game Boy games or Game Gear games. And of course there are, and they are on the Japanese eShop, but since Sword of Hajya, that's just how I'm going to say it, is the only one that came over here. That's the only one that's on the American, or the North American, or maybe probably the PAL eShop as well. But yeah, there's another great way to get this game, and you actually get the first game as well, is Shining Force CD for the Sega CD, if you want to, you know, get an actual copy of it, or if you want to get it through some other means, because you can do that with the Sega CD. It's basically the first game, this game, and then like a couple little epilogue chapters to put it all together in one big game, and that'd be a great way to play it. I actually kind of want to go out and either find a copy of it or see what the price is on Shining Force CD. And if it's a little too high for my taste, I'll get it through another means for my Sega CD. Because I'd actually like to go through and play the first game as well, because that's how much I was kind of taken with this. And I kind of played it in two big chunks. I played it initially a few months ago and was really having a good time with it, and then I put it up for something else. And here recently, I haven't been able to play a lot of console games, so I was like looking for something handheld that wasn't too, big. And then I remembered, oh yeah, my 3DS, I have that Game Gear game, that Shining Force Game Gear game. So I booted it back up and kind of looked on GameFAQs to see how close I was to the end, and I saw that I was more than halfway. So I was like, all right, I gotta put my nose to the grindstone and finish this up. Had a blast with it. The storyline picks up, I guess, right where Ninja Gaiden, God, Shining Force Gaiden leaves off with the main character from that game, Nick, being kidnapped by the remnants of the Iom army, and you are a newcomer to the land, the Cyprus army, and you set out with them to save Prince Nick from his capture by the enemy. And where it kind of goes in there, and the characters you meet, and I mean, it's not going to blow you away. It's not like a Final Fantasy or something like that. But for a Game Gear game, I was really surprised at how fleshed out the storyline was, and how the characters have these little moments together and things like that. It's a really surprising game, and it's unfortunate that I mean, I think it's one of those games that a lot of people out there would probably either, one, never hear about, or two, because it's a Game Gear game, kind of pass it up. And like I said, if you're a fan of the other Shining Force games, if you're a fan of Fire Emblem, definitely check this out. Plays, and I don't want to, I know how fan bases get. I'm not a big Shining Force fan because I have not played a lot of them yet. I have played a lot of Fire Emblem, so I'm going to keep comparing the two, because that's where sort of my mindset is. Taking nothing away from Shining Force, and not saying Fire Emblem is better by using this comparison, but it plays a lot like the early Fire Emblem games, in that it doesn't really seem to have the strengths and weaknesses system. It might. The only thing I really notice is my bow attacks would hurt flying enemies more. Or it seems to do more damage. But if you played a Fire Emblem game, or you played another Shining Force game, you know what to expect from this. And for all you people out there who hate the Fire Emblem permadeath, this one is not permadeath. So if you're looking just for a challenging in some respects, but just a fun strategy RPG that's kind of in the same vein as Fire Emblem, as opposed to Final Fantasy Tactics, this is something you definitely want to check out for $4 or $5 on the eShop. The music is kind of that little tingy, Game Gear sounds. I mean, you're not going to get over the fact that it was a Game Gear game. As for Shining Force CD, maybe they ramped up the music since it was on CD-ROM as opposed to a Game Gear cartridge. But, really, I just turned the music off and would either listen to YouTube videos or just some music in the background. Or while my girlfriend's daughter was watching Curious George or something, I would just, play with it while she was watching that on Netflix. But, yeah, the music, it's serviceable, but it's that old school, Game Gear, MIDI. It's too nails on a chalkboard for me. And the same kind of goes for the Game Boy. I really don't like old school Game Boy music, except for Tetris. I can listen to the Tetris music all day long, because it's somewhere back here. It's a part of me now. Anyway, but the graphics really pulled me in, because I'm so used to the Game Gear looking really crappy on that little screen. We can talk about the backlit, and I'm sure there's going to be some big Game Gear supporters out there, but I'm sorry, from my point of view, the system's just kind of, and, that Game Gear, God, I mean, we got that thing when it came out, so I haven't even, because I don't have 6 AA batteries I can just waste, because I have so many controls and, you know, controllers and things like that around here to boot it up. And I have a battery pack that's probably leaking battery acid in the case somewhere. But yeah, I haven't booted up in a long time, but I just remember the screen being very washed out by the backlight, and to put that game on the that 3DS XL screen, you would think it would look like garbage, but my God, it looks beautiful. It's beautiful, you know, Master System 8-bit sprite work, you know, because that's essentially kind of what the Game Gear was. It was kind of a portable Master System, the guts anyway. And yeah, I was really just like taken aback at like how much I actually enjoyed that, and I kind of got a kick because one of the characters, who's a gladiator, I mean, he looks straight up pulled right out of Dragon Warrior 1. I mean, it's the same. It's almost the same sprite, except it's more colorful. And I was like, I wonder if NX got, you know, wonder if there's any, you know, kind of like, not a cease and desist, but just kind of like, oh, what are those bastards doing because of that. Because, I mean, literally, it looks exactly like the guy from Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest 1, anyway. But, yeah, like, beautiful, colorful graphics, big, like, well, relative to the size of the screen, big sprites, you know, really kind of detailed sprites in a lot of ways. And, like, the character portraits are really kind of detailed faces. It was really just, it was surprising. I mean, I've played a bit of Shining Force 1 on the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection. I just kind of got sidetracked. I kind of want to go really back to it right now and play it. But I was really just surprised. And that's the thing I get about this game. And it's kind of awesome when you find like an old school game like this. And you're just like, my God, it's just so impressive for being a Game Boy, or a Game Boy, I keep saying Game Boy, a Game Gear game that, honestly, I would probably just write off as some kind of crappy thing, but it's actually a really good strategy RPG. So if you guys have not checked out Shining Force Sword of Hajya, however you say it, I don't, titles up there. Definitely check it out in the eShop. It's like $3 or $4. It's probably one of the best $3 or $4 you're going to spend on the eShop if you like strategy RPGs, because I'm just, after that, I mean, that's a game changer right there. Like, I really want to throw this thing in and play the other Shining Forces, but I kind of got some other things. Started Danganronpa 2, started Tales of Exilia, so I'm going to get those things out of the way first. But yeah, that's it. If I can give you guys one recommendation, you know, the 3DS, the library is getting kind of a little, like all the other systems, you know, the libraries get a little bit scant, you know, here in the summer months. You need something to play on your 3DS. Check this out. If you like those types of strategy RPGs, I don't think you'll be disappointed in the slightest. So, anyway, that is it for this. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.